5 years of experience in the field of analytics. We extend a warm and enthusiastic welcome to you. Without further ado, I would like to invite Ms. Sonali to begin the session. Meanwhile, the participants are requested to write down any questions for our speaker in the chat box.
Thank you so much, team, for having me here. Such a warm introduction on a Saturday afternoon. It's quite chilly outside. It's raining in Delhi, but it's a good weather to stay in and binge on and learn some new stuff. So, thank you for having me. I will quickly start because there's a lot that I want to cover. I want to make sure that this is engaging enough. So, give me just a moment for me to share my screen. Visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Perfect. Again, thank you for having me. First of all, wish you all a very happy new year. It's probably late already. We're 1 week into it. And I hope your exams went okay. Actually, I know your exams went okay. Vanika was sweet enough to tell me how easy it is to give exams right now. And especially special thanks to Anika for being very diligent in following up with me for this session. I am quite excited for the turnout that we have today, and I hope this will be as engaging as I want it to be. So we'll talk about analytics. We have heard this term a lot. It's too heavy, it's too overwhelming. I completely get it, but we'll bust some myths today for sure. So, why me here? A quick intro into my professional journey so far. I am born in Delhi. I'm a Delhi, true foodie as well. I did my schooling from Lances Convent School. It's in Delhi. I took up commerce because, well, that was the right choice I thought for me, and I have zero regrets right now. I completed my graduation from Sriram College of Commerce in 2016. Did BCom honors, and during that time, I knew I didn't want to straight up go for my MBA. That's the only reason I didn't prepare for my higher education at that time. But there was a teacher who convinced me for trying actuarial science as a profession. So I thought, why not? And I gave like 4 exams back then. I also interned at Mercer in as an actuarial analyst. That worked out pretty well. It was a good, interesting area. But I knew this isn't the place I want to be. So I paused for a while. And then a few companies started coming and there were placements happening. I was very choosy about the companies I sat for. I only sat for very selected companies, and I got through one, which was United Airlines. They offered me the role of an associate analyst. It was new in India because United Airlines is a United Nations company, a US company. They are based India Knowledge Center. There are a lot of center of excellence, if you have heard this term, a knowledge center, which is very core to analytics and strategy and operations. So that's set up that unit in Gurgaon, and I was probably the 15th employee to have joined. So it was more of a startup culture as well as a big company-wide culture as well. And my first role was that of an associate analyst. I was there for about 1 year. Then I got promoted to an analyst position, 1.5 years, then a senior analyst position, stayed there for 2.5 years. And now I'm currently working as a program manager for Salesforce. Salesforce is a cloud computing platform. Not sure if you know about it, but it's quite heavy and well known in the tech industry for a best CRM software that there is. This company is based out of Bangalore. I'm currently working from home from Delhi, but I will be moving to Bangalore next year, which I'm quite excited for. Apart from this, I know this is a LinkedIn summary. You can get this from my LinkedIn also. But apart from this, I love traveling. I think a lot of credit goes to United. I've been to 24 countries. I love exploring, networking. Hence, I've been a part of Toastmasters community for a long time. I consider myself an artist because I like to draw, doodle, and illustrate things. So that's where my 5 to 9 really goes. But that's about me. Again, my email ID and LinkedIn is mentioned. If you have any questions, doubt throughout, keep the chat online, and we'll get to the questions for sure. So before we speak about analytics, a small warm up. And for warm up, I would need all of your faces online. It is a Saturday afternoon, and I would like to see some happy faces. I can see 3, but I would love to see more. And with the face, what I would need you to do is have your first one hand up with the 5 fingers up. Can all of you do that with me? I'm going to try this activity with you. I can see a few of you already doing it. Can I have more faces online? It's completely fine even if you have not taken a bath. I completely get it. Anyway, coming as a small thumbnail, so I wouldn't really get into the. Oh, perfect. I see a lot of faces. Thank you so much. Get your first five fingers up of one hand. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say five sentences, one at each time. If you agree or conform to either of the sentences, you keep bring your one finger down with each sentence. So there are five sentences. If you agree, you bring one finger down. We'll see how many fingers are left after that. Number one, I exactly know what I want to do in my life. I still don't know, so I'm gonna bring it down. I don't know if I want to do something. Okay. I know the current pronunciation of the word data. Data or data or data. Do you know how it's pronounced? DATA. Data. I'll tell you in a little while. I know what having a career in analytics means. I know it. I know. Yeah, of course I know. Do you know? Okay, a lot of people know. Great. I know someone who works as an analyst. For sure. Not a lot. Some of you, okay. I've attended a session before on a similar topic. I haven't, to be honest. On a similar topic, I haven't. Okay, I see two fingers up, one finger up, two, three, one. That's good. At least you know something around it. Good activity. First of all, it's pronounced as data. In corporate, it's actually quite well acknowledged, well recognized whether you pronounce data, data, duta, data, however you do it. But the correct pronunciation for it is data, and it takes years for you to get it because it's just too confusing. And the second thing is that because I know I haven't attended a session like this before on a similar topic, I know the struggles I face, and I know there are some of the challenges once you begin this journey. And hence, I'm here today to help you with all your doubts. So while we've spoken about the basic understanding, let's set a ground rule and foundation of what data analytics means. It is everywhere around us. It is invisible around us, and that's the beauty of it. So a few examples that I'd like to mention. The first one that you see on the top left, if you see it, it's that of a credit card offer. So it says that if on your credit card number, if you use it for 31,000 rupees for 3 weeks, you will get a free voucher of 2,000 rupees. How does this company know that I need to spend 31,000 rupees and not 1,000 and not 30,000 and not 10,000? How does this company know that I have to spend it in the 3 weeks and not 2 weeks and 1 week? This is derived through analytics. They have the spending or the data for my credit card. I use Citibank. So whenever I usually spend like a 25, 30,000 on my credit card every month. Now they know I have the potential to spend more. How do they know it? Because they've been storing all of this data with them and analyzing it and coming up with offers like these. Example number two. Can somebody tell me what's there on the bottom of this image? The second image on the bottom? You can put it on the chat. What's the example that is being mentioned there? It's a simple example. It's a Google search. I am just searched, correct, learn analytics. Perfect, Shruti. I've just searched on Google, learn analytics. And if you see very carefully, the top two examples that are coming, they have a prefix called an ad. Now, this is an advertisement by LinkedIn as well as Great Learning. Now, if probably you search for learn analytics on your Google right now, either you would get the same or you would get a different advertisement altogether based on where you're located, based on the words that you're using. If you say learn coding, you will probably get a different ad. Which ad to show, which company would show an ad to you, all of this is a part of analytics. Let's talk about the third example. The one that you see in the green, the third one. Can somebody tell me what it is?
Spotify list.
Perfect.
Spotify Wrapped.
Yes, I know this is the favorite one for all of our generation because it is personally my own favorite. I love the idea of telling us as a company that they collect our data and they can present it in a way which is quite consumable for us. So As a company, a lot of companies, what they do is they store data, they create dashboards, they have all this information about each and every customer that they do, that they engage with. But there are only few companies who can actually transform that data in a beautifully presented way and tell us, well, this is important for you to know. Also, I want to know who are my top 5 artists. I want to know how much time I spent for in the last 1 year listening to your music on Spotify. All of this is possible through analytics, and there's nothing else that can make this work. What's the fourth example? Can somebody tell me?
It is a podcast.
It's not a podcast, but it's Netflix. Harshada, perfect. It is a snip from Netflix. The snip that you see of a series is called The Office. Side recommendation for everyone: if you have not seen The Office, you should. It's one of my favorite series. But if you see here, the green text that's written here, it's called 98% match. How do they figure out that this is my 98% match? It's not 96, it's not 6, it's not 10. Because they know that I'm a person who loves binge watching series, 10 series at a time. They know that I love mockumentaries, they know I love comedies, they know I love English comedies, they know I love watching series and not movies. And they know I watched The Office a couple of times. So they have all of this data and they've been able to come up with this number 98%. What has to help them come up with this number? Analytics. Now let's talk about the fourth example. What is that? Bonus marks and points for someone who's able to recognize this. I'll give you a hint. It was sort of highly used in 2021. Yeah, last year.
Make my trip.
No, unfortunately, this is not Make My Trip. This is Snigdha, great answer. COVID portal. This was a COVID resource portal which was made on Sprinkler. A lot of you would have fortunately, unfortunately, used it every now and then to help your friends for resources, medicines, hospitals, etc. Someone created this while getting data from all different platforms, from Google, from Instagram, from Twitter. And there was one resource where you could go and figure out the resources. How was it possible? Again, through the help of analytics. I wouldn't have imagined 10 years ago that this was even possible if a pandemic would have happened. And because analytics is everything and everywhere and it is invisible, that's why we feel and say that it is inevitable as well. And let's talk about the last example. uh, it's an advertisement that I got a minute after. Perfect, Vanika. Instagram advertisement that I got a minute after I searched shoes on Google. That's how information flows. That's how our data gets released. That is what the beauty and the challenge of analytics is, that you get advertisements every now and then because they know more about you and they store that data and they sell that data as well. And this is possible only through analytics. So wherever you look around yourself, if you feel that there is some story or some data behind it, there is 100% analytics. And those things you're able to see only because they have made certain decisions around it. So I hope you understand the overview and some examples and case studies what we see around every now and then. Now that we understand this, let's talk a little bit more about the definition of analytics. A lot of companies are collecting data right now all of the time, but in its raw form, data does not really mean anything. Like, you can have 10,000 of rows, but if you don't analyze and come up with anything, then it's highly useless. And its superpower is that it processes an enormous, bigger than you can even imagine, a large amount of data. Hence we call it big data. If you've used and heard the term big data, it's as simple as it says, data which is huge for you. And organizations like, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix, Prime, all of these companies, big companies, are investing in data analytics because there is no question of its short term and long term value. So, what is it anyway? In theory, it is a process of exploring and analyzing large data sets to find hidden patterns, unseen trends, discover correlations, blah, blah, blah. This seems like a very theoretical concept, very boring just to read by it. So, I'll break it down in a better format. Which is called an ELI5 version. ELI5 is explained like I'm 5, so I'll explain like you all are 5. This is the way we think about data analytics is First, you got to understand the problem. What is the issue that is coming? Then you have to collect the data around it. Do you have enough data about it? Then you have to clean the data. The fancy and not so fancy part of it is that sometimes the data that you get is messy, so you have to clean it. Then you have to analyze the data, and then you have to interpret the result. These 5 steps are important for you for any sort of analytical role that you get into. Sometimes you spend more time in collecting the data versus analyzing the data. Sometimes you spend more time in cleaning the data versus interpreting the data. But these 5 steps are sort of important. And the different types of analytics vary every time. One is what happened, which describes the problem. Hey, what really happened in a particular problem? So that is a descriptive analytics. But why did it happen? The data tells you the reason, and that's diagnostic analysis. What will happen? This is more of a futuristic view. When you have an information about the past, you can think about the future. This is more in terms of predictor, what will happen in future. And the last one is a little top notch again, which is what if X happens, will Y happen? How can I make something else altogether happen? So these are the 4 different type of analytics. In most cases and in most roles, first and the second one is very common, which is what and why. It's easy to understand through data what happened and why did it happen. Data scientist, if you have heard of this role, really works on what will happen and what can we make it happen, which is the predictive and a prescriptive analytics. So this gives you an overview of what really data analytics means and what are the types of it. But I know it's a lot of theory and it can get overwhelming. So I have a small exercise and an activity that we all can go through together. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and start sharing an Excel with you. I'm going to post the Excel link on the chat. See if you all can access it. You might have viewership access and not editing access. So create a copy of it and work with me on the side. I see a lot of you are already in. Perfect. Great. Can somebody tell me what this is, first of all? It's a raw data of 7th September 2020. But looking at the data, what is it really? It has name, it has user emails, total duration minutes. But what is it about? What minutes? Why do we need name?
Ma'am, it's probably the data of the meeting on I mean the Zoom and the information related to that.
Great, Vanika and Shruti. It is the attendance report of that session. So a session was conducted on 7th September in Turning Point Toastmasters. And we have a start time and an end date. We have the names of all the people who attended. We have the usernames. We have the duration. Just take a quick look at the raw data. Upar niche dekho, understand it, and tell me a few things that are coming right at you. Like big, small, some things, some insights, anything that's coming right at you, anything. It could be literally anything. Just let me know. Put it on the chat or you can speak up. Anything that you can see with the number of participants, you email IDs, around duration.
I think we can see that like this much percentage of the people attended the entire session, and like there were around 20% people who left after some time.
Okay, you are 3 steps ahead of where I wanted you to be. Great. That is quite awesome. Perfect. Nobody was there for a complete duration. Snigdha, I'm not sure if the insight is correct, but I really like how you're thinking. Again, 2 3 steps ahead of where I wanted you to be. So looking at this is a raw data attendance report of a thing. Now, what are some of the few things that will come right at you? There are about 39 participants. If I look at here, there are about 39. Count is 39. I can see that the names are not consistent. There's one who's evaluator, one Soumya Agarwal, and then again bracket. Then there is normal name. So the email IDs are there, not there. So it's not like a great consistent report, really. I can't really do analysis like this. Like someone mentioned 20%. How do you come up with 20% without even doing an analysis? You can do an estimate, but that's not really a great number to rely on. So how do you go about it? There also, if you can see, there's someone called a grammarian Shivam Prakash, and there's someone called a Shivam Prakash down here. So there are duplicates. So I can't really say 39 people participated. There are probably less than that. We should have a distinct count. So that's where cleaning of the data becomes quite important. And this is not even like a messy data, to be honest. There have been messier data that I've worked with, but it's the final result that makes it more satisfying every now and then. So let's clean the data first and see how it looks. So if I go to cleaning the data, I have seen Shivam Prakash as two different rows, Surjit as two different rows. I will join these rows and figure out what is actually the data. Because if you see, I've named them, I've corrected the names, I have made it consistent. Now I can analyze properly. So now when I've done that cleaning, I'm going to analyze it. The unique participants, as somebody would have seen, is 37 because I've removed the duplicates. Email IDs, we're seeing only 25 out of 37. There are 32% null email IDs. Thinking about percentages versus numbers, that's also a big concept of analytics. How do you represent data in a percentage form or a number form? In most cases, we do a percentage. Thinking about average and a median attendance time, we have these attendance time, how long a person stayed in that meeting. Somebody would have stayed for a minute also, somebody stayed for 322 minutes also. An average was 110, a median is 113. When to use a median, when to use a mean, all of these concepts of stats, mean, median, mode, average, percentages, these things will be your basic and foundation for analytics. These will not be your everyday day-to-day job, but you will need this to build more onto it. So like somebody mentioned, and a great answer, by the way, how many people left within the first 20 minutes? Amazing, because those are the type of skills you need to think it through. So let's say if we divide everyone into the time slot, and if we say few people left in the first half an hour, how many were they? Few people left in half an hour to 2 hours, 2 hours to 3 hours, and more than 3 hours. Why more than 3 hours? Because if we see here, we have a total meeting duration of 189 minutes. So somebody, around 7 people, stayed between 180 to 189 minutes. That's like a big number still. Now, what if I divide them into names and give them categories? I can't really say like 7 people stayed for more than 180 minutes. They are like loyal people for me. So what if I categorize them into loyalists? Somebody who's left in half an hour is an inactive person. Half an hour to 2 hours is sub-engagers and ultra-engagers. Now, why is this important? Let's go back to our first thing. We have to understand the problem. Now, right now, this is just a data given to you. No problem was given to you. But what if the problem was all of these things? This is just one Excel file with 40 rows. Imagine 10,000 sessions and 40 rows, 4 lakh rows. How are you going to come up with this on an Excel? That's where the big data comes. That where the analytics comes. So let's say you have 4 lakh rows and you're given a question or a problem of, has the number of unique participants gone up or down? SOS is session over session, MOM is month over month, IO is year over year. This is a problem for you to figure out, and then you do the analysis, clean the data, and analyze and interpret. Those 5 steps you'll have to do. What if your problem is the number of people who have not submitted their email IDs has gone up from 32% to 80%? You are seeing, is there an issue with the registration form? Is it higher among the inactive people who leave in the first 30 minutes? Are those the people only who are not submitting their email IDs? So those do you see the thinking process? You have to go through multiple angles to figure out that right solution. Is where the analytical thinking comes from. What if your question is, What is the main driver for people living in the first 30 minutes? Why are people so not interested? Is it because of the day? Is it because of the time? Like, if I actually have to do an analytics for this session, this attendance, a lot of people would have left in the first 30 minutes. Is it because of the time that we've kept 3 o'clock? Is it the lunchtime? Is it a Saturday? Is it the session? Is it the speaker? Is it a network issue? There are a lot of reasons for it, and data would be able to tell and give an answer around it. How can we convert a sub engager to a ultra engager? How can we convert an ultra engager to a loyalist? So a result or a recommendation to this example, let's say, would be somebody who is staying for 3 hours but not really staying till the end of the meeting. We can say that if you stay for full time for this particular meeting, you will get a discount or you get a free session next time. You don't have to pay. So those are some of the uh, like rewards that you can give to make sure that you're able to convert. These are some solutions and recommendations somebody can come up. But I hope you're able to understand these sort of analytics are important and how you think through it. Now, looking at this can get very, very overwhelming, because looking at these numbers, you're not going to understand, you're not going to able to, this looks very rough. If I have to talk about this to a leader or a stakeholder, I can't really go and show like this is where the data visualization part comes to it, which is the last sheet that I want to talk about, which is this. So if you look here, I've actually incorporated these column names on the side. Who is an inactive, sub-engager, engager, etc. Whose email ID is available or not. And if you seen, I have only used formulas here. If you ever want to go back and look at the formulas, you're free to do that. And let me know if you have any questions. So now this looks better to look at, right? I can see that I have like blue, red, yellow, and green. I have less of blue. I have more of yellow and green and red, which is a great thing. We want more of our engagers, less of inactive people. How do I make blue 0? How do I increase green to 100? Those are some of the things we'll have to work on. Similarly, if you look at email IDs, this is another way to represent, which is in a form of a graph and a pie chart. All of these things I'm sure you would have learned at some point. Charts, pie charts, graph, histograms, candlesticks, all of those things will be heavily used and essential for your role in analytics. We've talked about why and what, right? In this entire exercise, we talked about diagnostic and descriptive. What is the problem and why is it happening? But we didn't talk about what will happen. So in this form of a case, if we talk about predictive analytics, which is the data science part of it, a question might come: out of the 4 lakh rows and 10,000 session data that you have, in the next session, how many people will join the next session? There are no registrations, there's nothing. You just know when the session is going to happen, you just know the topic, the date, and the time, and speaker. But you have to figure out how many people will turn up. Now, that is a form of a predictive analytics. The past data will help you derive it, and that is the part of AI, ML, and a data science job. I hope I'm clear. I'm going to pause here for a second because I know it could get very overwhelming. If you have any doubts related to this, otherwise I'll continue with what is next. Okay, I'll move on in the interest of time. Just a second. Let me reshare again. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. I hope you can. Perfect. So now that we understood a bit of what analytics would involve, how your thinking will move, what sort of data can you think about, there are a lot of analysts in the world right now, a lot of people working in this field, but what are their titles and what are the designations we talk about? from a data analyst to a business analyst to a business intelligence analyst to a data scientist, engineer, intelligence, operations, marketing, quantitative, there's a lot. But the good news is that these all roles lets you capitalize on your love for data. They have the same goal of turning data into useful insight. A data analyst would work on something very similar to what I mentioned. The projects might differ from a credit card company to a Netflix analytics to a Spotify analytics, that might change. A data scientist is the one that I'm talking about. An example of it, it's a very sought after role. The example of this is you open Google Photos as an app, right? You see photos of yourself matching with the photos of yourself. Like, is this right? Are you sure? Is this you? No, not sure. This example comes from a facial recognition tool. A data scientist would work on a project like this, where they're able to figure out the face and see how they can match very well with your own face. Another example of this, for example, is an airline has recently launched a tool of identifying masks on people. This was a project that was launched in 2021. While boarding the flight, there is a CCTV camera up on there. They would see your face and identify whether a person has worn a mask or not. And it's essential for an airline to know, keeping in mind the safety protocols that they want to comply with. Now, flight attendant won't go and count the faces like this is wearing mask and not wearing mask and all. And how do you store that data? So they created a tool with a CCTV camera that captures all of that and identifies it. Who works on projects like this are data scientists. A quantitative analyst is a person who is a proper fin guy, works in an IB and works with financial data. Operations person works with ops data. Marketing person works with marketing data, correlate with marketing data. So everyone works with data, everyone has same vision and aim, but their business acumen and the teams that they work with are completely different. And what are the skills that are required, and I'm going to talk about how you can get started to get in each of these roles in a little while. That's going to be my last slide, so stay tuned. But let's talk about what are some of the skills that you require. What I knew when I began my journey 6 years ago was this. Do you see a big zero? Yeah, that was me. And what I learned while I was on the job was this. You can't see my hand, but I'm really going full haywire here. So I really had one degree, which was a commerce degree, and I knew a little bit of Excel thanks to societies that I've been in. There was some data, attendance data, registrations data that we used to work with, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So those small things of Excel basic, I would be completely okay, but nothing else. But in the job, I was able to work and get my proficiency way up working on all of these tools that are mentioned here. You may not be 100% already equipped with it, but as you continue and as you perform very well on the job, you will keep learning new things every now and then, which are a part of these. So, a bachelor's degree having in mathematics, statistics, economics, commerce, finance, history, English, any would work, to be honest. If you are interested in this field, if you feel you have the ability, if you like working with data, and if you're open to learning, that's all you need to know to continue here. Most data analyst roles require at least a bachelor's degree, and a data scientist would typically require a master's or a doctoral degree in data science or IT or mathematics, maths or stats. And if you're just starting out, working as a data analyst first can be a good way to launch your career as a data scientist. In the past, a lot of analytical professionals mostly relied on Excel and dashboards, things that we've also seen in the past, to load data and visualize. However, with the advancement, people are now moving to Python and R as like a more professional course and a professional way to lead their practices. One of the major things I would like to recommend for anyone who is probably going in any stream is to very well equip yourself with your Excel and SQL skills. Two key skills, always transferable, always helpful in whatever career journey you take. Excel, you'll realize, is going to be your best friend no matter you work or you don't work. There are things you will want to do in your personal life that would require an Excel in professional life as well. For SQLs, I'm not sure if you've heard of SQL. Anyone who's worked on SQL before knows how to code in SQL, can put it up on chat. I'm wondering, out of the 59 people, how many know beginner level? Tanya Taneja, nice. I can see four people. Great. I mean, it's great if you know even at a beginner level. If you don't know, that's completely fine. SQL is, a very, very easy language to learn. And once you learn, you will feel like you're not even coding. It's explaining Excel in a language, and that's all. If you want to group things, if you want to sum things, you're just writing those things which you would have done in Excel. That's all you're doing. But SQL is a very transferable thing. I personally know a lot of people who are 5 years 10 years into their corporate profession and are now beginning to learn SQL because they have realized that there are so many things that they can do right now had they learned SQL way before. uh, Consultants, investment bankers, CA, auditors, everyone, if they have these two skills, Excel and SQL or Python or anything from an analytics front that they can provide it as an extra thing, their overall market value increases by 2x for sure. You you overall have more to offer to the company, and you can anyway move from one stream to another irrespective whatever happens. So SQL, from that respect, I have my personal favorite tool as a SQL. And coding generally isn't required for data analyst. Fluency in Python, R, and SQL can help you clean, organize, and pass data. If someone who knows Python and likes Python and has an interest towards it, go for it. Python is also a very sought after tool right now for data analysts. Before I talk about the soft skills, I wanted to do a quick poll just to understand the level of proficiency you have for Excel. Thanks for the questions. I'm gonna talk about SQL in a little while of the courses that you can do. I have few resources for that. The question I posted is, what is your proficiency in Excel? You haven't really started yet. Basic, intermediate, or advanced? Nice. We have a mix of basic and intermediate people. Great. People who are at like a very basic level or between basic and not yet started. Few recommendations I'm going to talk about Excel, but make sure whenever you have time, you study Excel and SQL, irrespective of whatever profession you want to go in. That's a lesson learned the hard way. So let's talk about soft skills. Two major soft skills I feel are quite important: communication skills and presentation skills. Very underrated. I have seen a lot of people having challenges in analytical fields if they're not able to present the findings in the right way. Uh, and thankfully, I think I've heard a lot about JMC. I know the crowd that it has and I know the opportunities. A lot of people from JMC have great communication and presentation skills, and thanks to the college and the societies and the culture that you begin and stay within. So keep evolving upon that, because that is important when you go out in the corporate world. You have to be a good organizer, collaborator, critical thinker to be a great analyst. So the soft skills, these are required. What do these analysts like or don't like? Well, we'll talk about the pros first. It is a fast growing industry. Every small startup, company, unicorn, big company, MNC, they all are growing, they all have data, and this is a never ending opportunities for job. There's a lot of room for career advancement. It is a satisfying and also a challenging day-to-day work. Like I mentioned, a good mix of technical work and interpersonal communication work. Transferable skills, like I mentioned in the last slide, you can work as a data analyst and you can also work as a marketing analyst. You can also work as a Google Analytics person. You can shift to an ops analyst. You can work as a consultant with analytics. You can work as an IB with analytics. The major common stream is the analytics skill set that's happening. You have very few mandatory qualifications. Bachelor's degree is the major one. And then you can, of course, top it up with other great learning resources that I'll talk about in a while. And of course, all analysts are paid pretty well in the market right now. Some of the not so pros of it, like I mentioned, there is involvement of messy data. You will almost never be handed a perfect Excel that's ready for instant analysis. So if you are not willing to clean data with that much proficiency, then probably analytics is not the right profession for you. And if you don't enjoy coding a little bit or programming or understanding the maths behind a certain science, then this might mess up with your own mind and brain, so maybe not get into it altogether. There are a lot of companies also that may not know how to best use your skills, but I think that's changing now and then. 5 years ago this was a big issue. Now a lot of companies have realized it, and there is a lack of consistency across companies as well. There are uh, like for example, in the technical skills, if I mention data viz is visualization. So what I did right now with the chart and things on Excel was a part of data visualization. But if you want to think about 4 lakh, 10 lakh, 1 billion rows, how do you do it in Excel? So you have different tools for that: Spotfire, Tableau, Power BI. Now different companies use different tools, and that's why the consistency is not 100% defined, even though the task performed is pretty much the same. So those are some of the pros that not so pros that might irritate you, but I think the pros anyway overpower the cons that they have. For how I predict it's going to go in the next few years, uh, there are a lot of tech terms that you see: artificial intelligence, IoT, augmented reality, machine learning, data visualizations. If you're interested, Google it up. But in the next 5-10 years, I am sure everybody will have a hang around some of these terms. You would have already heard about metaverse if somebody who's watched Spider-Man. Big news, big concept, hula hoop going around it. Metaverse is a concept of analytics and machine learning and big data, because that is how everything is connected. So if you're interested even in a small bits and pieces around it, study, know, and having a small skill set around it would actually take you places in the future. So to answer most of this question, and these are my last slides, so I'll take the next 5 minutes or so. How to get started. These are the two slides that would have been quite helpful for me back then, but I think I took a little bit longer to realize that these are helpful. So first of all, take up an Excel course. The two courses I recommend is from Coursera and Data Camp: Introduction to Data Analysis Using Excel and Data Analysis in Excel. These are just my suggestions. If you feel that there are a lot of Excel courses on YouTube also, if you feel that you want to go there, you can do it as well. The benefit of doing it through a MOOC is a massive open learning courses, which is like a Coursera, Udemy, edX, all of those things, is that you get certifications, you get a certificate, you can put it up on LinkedIn, you can update it on your CV, and that's important once you go out in the market looking for a job related to it. uh, so take up an Excel course, definitely, for sure, that is important. Slow and steadily, but do it with a partner. Buddy up with your friends and make sure you both motivate each other. Having a partner any of the learning session is sort of important, so have another friend who's interested, because Excel is a big thing, so you should know intermediate for sure. uh, then consume relevant content. The best way to do it is you can sign up for newsletters. I've done it in the past, and I generally read up on every now and then news trends. A few magazines that I would recommend would be Analytics India magazine, Analytics Inside, Analytics Vidya. And somebody who's not like a big viewer of things and likes to read up things and wants a hard copy book, so there are books for dummies. This is a series of books. You can actually go ahead and look for books for dummies SQL, books for dummies Excel, and there are big books available that you can purchase and read up on that. The next advice is to join relevant groups. uh, the suggestions that I've kept here are all for LinkedIn right now, but if you're if you are already a part of different other communities where you feel the groups are there, you can join them as well. These are just my recommendations so far: big data analytics, Google Analytics, global analytics network. You will get to learn a lot about what people work on, their projects, what are some of the openings around the world, what is happening in the industry, what are the skill set, how do you change things. You may not want to consume every now and then, but just be there so that you can get notification every now and then. Subscribe to relevant content. These are just recommendations from YouTube. Again, I think there are few people who are quite the influencers on Instagram, quite influencers on other places as well. But I'm a YouTube person, and these three people generally put a lot of content out there for analytics: Alex the analyst, Cody Baldwin, and Natisha Garg. They've put up some stuff there, and I've generally followed them. So if you like any of them, go ahead and look them up. The fourth is get yourself a mentor. I think Vanika mentioned this with me as well, that JMC has a mentorship program that they've come up with. A great initiative. I personally do feel having a mentor is essential. So kudos for bringing that up. And I think a mentor is required irrespective whatever profession you get into. It's just some person who you look up to and can guide you well, and that's all you really need to have a mentor defined. So if you want to build a network in analytics, you need to have a mentor irrespective. But if someone who's from analytics is there, that would be definitely a top notch. So find someone from your own network, or there are a few portals online. I've posted 4 links there. And I will be sharing this link with Vanika later on so that maybe she can circulate it with the group. These are online portals where you can put in relevant characteristics or fields or industries or cities that you want mentors from, and they can connect you very well with them. The fifth is do your market research. First of all, be very curious about this industry. There is a lot that's happening, and there's a lot that we all don't know. So you need to attend conferences if you like that sort of thing. I attended one of the conference in 2018, which was ODSC. It was in Bangalore. ODSC is Open Data Science Conference. I was again very new to this, and I was quite excited to attend the conference. That was the first time attending a analytics conference, and I was attending with my leaders from the company. So the people that I met was someone who is in 12th standard, was someone who is a MD in an analytics company, was someone who is a CA, was someone who's a lawyer who wants to shift to analytics. So there's a big variety of people that came. It was great networking and understanding why somebody wants to do analytics. And there were companies like Ola, Uber, Netflix, Amazon would come to present and talk about case studies that they have been doing and using analytics to influence customer engagement. And that was quite interesting. So there are conferences like these that happen every now and then. I think it will be mostly virtual for the next 1-2 years, unfortunately. But whenever you get a chance like this, spread the word around with your friends and see if there is anything that is something of your liking, and go ahead and attend. Explore Glassdoor, LinkedIn, Indeed. These are some job portals that you have. Most job postings mention the technical requirements that are required in jobs. Once you're able to figure out, say you want to work in retail analytics, say you want to work in OTT analytics like Netflix or Amazon Prime, or you want to work with customer engagement analytics, any sort of industry that interests you, look up for that organization, look up for their analytical jobs, and see what type of skill sets you require. If that skill set is something that you can come up with and take certifications, go ahead and do, and then consider these certifications. For example, the 2 examples that I mentioned here is SQL for newbies. It's a weekend crash course, something that you would want to do very quickly, because SQL is very quick that you can pick it up like that, very easy to understand. But you can also do a good, well elaborated 6-month long SQL course as well. The two platforms that I can suggest is Udemy and Kaggle. Kaggle is a very, very well-known analytics platform where a lot of people put in a lot of their projects, live projects they work on, case studies, also a lot of courses. Great platform to go and explore. Data visualization as well. I'll take up questions in a little, just 1 more minute. Optimize your LinkedIn. This is the last thing. Be very active on LinkedIn. Fortunately for us, at a time like this, everyone is active on LinkedIn. I wasn't when I was in 2016. It wasn't one of those things. Now it is. I know everybody is. But great, because that's how you meet people, that's how you network, that's how you meet your potential job recruiters as well. So add relevant connections, people, wherever you want to go, add people who are already in the field so that you can get in their network and see how they think and work through. Update your profile and be active, and also contribute to the network. Before I take up questions, I want to conclude with some mythbusters. Uh, and I want you all to be active on chat for this one. Uh, for each sentence, tell me if that's true or false. Data analysts are just Excel wizards. False, true, no, myth, false. Absolutely right. It is false. They are not just Excel wizards. They are analytical thinkers. They are visualizers. They are presenters. They are communicators. They are SQL experts. They are a lot of things, and not just Excel wizards. Data analysts are nerds. They don't need communication skills. It's a myth. Perfect. Very well done. They are not nerds. They definitely, that's one of the most important soft skills that they need, which is communication skills. Data analysts, data engineers, and data scientists do different things. Perfect. I guess you are ready to become analyst for sure. You have crossed, and you will get certified for this session for sure. They do different things. That is very true. Only mathematics graduates can get analytical jobs. It is false. Perfect. Coding is more important than business acumen to succeed as a data analyst. It's a myth. You guys are killing it. You can find a data analyst job easily. Both are equally important. Yes. You can find a data analyst job easily. True, true, true. Depends on skills. Skills, then yes. Not sure. The answer is true. You can find a data analyst job very easily in the market. We are at a time and space like this where there are tons of positions that are coming every now and then. The snip that you see here is of that from yesterday. I've just searched an analyst job in India, entry level and a full time position, and there are around 11,000 jobs already there. Around 1,000 jobs are being offered every day on LinkedIn for an analyst level, which means that it's not dying. It's not going to go anywhere. It's only going to boom from here. As long as you are interested and you get to learn the skills with time, over time, not just before the job, but during the job as well, you can be a great analyst to work for. And with that, I will pause here for questions. I know I'm little over time, but we'll take as many questions as we can.
Thank you so much for such an interactive session and telling us and giving us an insight on the different aspects on the what, why, and how of analysis. And we do have quite a few questions from the participants. So the first being is that are students who are pursuing courses including math and statistics preferred over others while looking for jobs?
No, I was a commerce person. A lot of people who joined as an analyst in my batch were from eco, commerce, and history. And there were a few people from stats and few people who were from tech, IIT, or like mechanical engineering people. So if you see, there's a mix of people. They only wanted to make sure that you feel you are ready to learn and you have that interest in knack. There were a few people who realized after a year, maybe this is not what I want to do, and they switch jobs. But there's no particular defined saying in the graduation course that you want to take up. You can have a history course, English, maths, commerce, economics. It will be irrelevant for an analytical job.
We have a question in the chat box. Could you please share some insights on how we can take us to the second level of SQL, some resource we can refer to, or how we can do a project on that?
A great question. Like I mentioned, all of these available portals like Udemy and Coursera and EDX, they provide a lot of these learning sessions. So if you are a basic person, you will get intermediary courses as well on them. And for a project, go to Kaggle and look for projects there. Kaggle is a place where a lot of people come together and work on different case studies and projects. And even in these learnings that you do on Coursera, they have small projects as a part of their assignments that you can work on for SQL, Excel, or whatever course you take up. So you will have projects irrespective on those purposes as well.
Is Google Data Studio also used in this field?
Sorry, can you repeat?
It's the question in the chat box. She says, is Google Data Studio also used in this field?
Google Data Studio. I'm not too aware of this. I can check outside of it and I'll let you know. I'm not too aware about Google Data Studio.
Okay,
But
thank
if it
you.
has Google and it has data, I'm sure it is a part of analytical world.
Our next question is that will it be possible to manage other courses such as CA, CWA while wanting to pursue this field?
Interesting, because I think in both cases you'll learn a lot and you'll have a lot of learning and you'll want to do a lot of time management as well. But it is possible for sure. There have been people who have in my network who have studied analytics and have also given their higher education exams, who have studied analytics, who have been pursuing CA as well on the side. So people who have done it, as long as you're committed for both and you're not prioritizing one over the other, you'll be able to do it for sure. It's not difficult.
So, like you mentioned, there are various fields and titles in analytics. According to you, which one of them is valued the most?
Between you and me, all of us and me, I think the one that's valued the most is that of a data scientist, and that's because it's a very niche skill to have. You have to be a great data analyst to become a data scientist. So you have already crossed one big path to become the next one. And data scientists are those, like I'm saying, all cool projects and all machine learning and AI, which will be the future of analytics in a few years. uh, is the most sought after profession right now. Uh, but that being said, it's not required for you to get into. For example, I know I was given a project when I was working with United to work in a machine learning project and create a model for a few customers. I personally did not like my time when I worked on that project because I was just not a person who enjoyed modeling and machine learning and AI. So I knew I was more of an analytical person than a data science person, and I went away from it. So it's completely fine based on your interest. Maybe you like to work with marketing data, so you're a marketing analyst. Maybe you like to work with ops, so you're an ops analyst. Or you're generally a master of all data, so you're a normal data analyst, and that's completely fine.
Okay. So, what is the scope of analytics as a career abroad?
Oh, quite well known and well recognized. In India, unfortunately, there are not a lot of universities offering masters in analytics. There are some, of course, a few also coming up very recently. But uh, as a profession and as higher education, masters in analytics is a big thing outside of India as well. A lot of my friends and my network connections have also went outside to get their graduation or masters in analytics from outside, and they've got great offers and placement opportunities abroad as well. So no where no country, no city or area has been a deterrent factor to work in an analytics stream. India as well as outside both have similar job professions and areas to grow in analytics.
Okay, okay, that's good. Thank you so much. We're taking one last question since we're running short of time. Mm, Someone has asked in the chat box, is it necessary to have a master's degree in analytics to have a good job in analytics?
No, like I mentioned, no. But if at a time you feel like you want to, so when do you do masters? That's a big thing that you should really ask yourself. Be it MBA, be it masters in analytics. All of these questions are important. So if you're becoming an analyst through a bachelor's degree and if you're learning on the job, you have all those technical skill set, and you feel you need more of a boost from either the role that you're in, or you want to switch industries, or you want to uh, get promoted or a higher pay, all of those reasons could be there for you to push yourself to a master's. That's why mostly people go for masters in analytics, but it's not a mandate for you to get a job. You can start off as a bachelor's degree, learn on the way, equip your skill set, and when you feel like you're ready to learn more, change something, push yourself for more, then go for masters in analytics.
Okay, thank you so much. I think with this, we have come to an end of the discussion. We're very grateful to you for taking the time out from
Of
your
course.
demanding schedule to grace this event and be the inspiration we all need to embark our journey into this new and emerging field. Now, I would like to call upon the Vice President of the Management Interaction Cell, Deanne Gomes, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to put all my gratitude into words and present a vote of thanks. I would like to thank our honorable speaker, Ms. Sonali Kathurai, for enlightening us with her extensive knowledge. I'm sure that this session has been insightful for all of us, and explaining the concepts in such simple terms has definitely piqued an interest in us about this vast field of analytics. The activities too made this a very fun session to attend, and learning how analytics happens and how data is visualized really helped us get a hands on exposure to this field. A heartiest thank you to our principal, Dr. Sandra Joseph, for being our beacon of strength and inspiring us to do our best in all our aspirations. With utmost regard, I would like to also appreciate our loving mentors who have always motivated us to be the best versions of ourselves and taught us how to turn our weak qualities into assets. Our head of department, Dr. Savita Rastogi ma'am, for being our never-ending ray of hope. Our founder, Dr. Rekha Dayal ma'am, for always being with us on board with our ideas and pushing us to conquer our fears. Our convener, Dr. Vibha Mathur ma'am, a perfectionist whose sense of direction is crucial for every success of every event conducted by us. And finally, our teacher coordinators, Ms. Lizzie Joes and Miss Monica Chabra ma'am, for instilling in us vital values like compassion, integrity, and pragmatism. I would also like to take a moment to appreciate the student organizing team at MIC. A huge shout out to our president, Ms. Shruti Agarwal, and General Secretary, Ms. Vanika Kansal, for all their efforts to ensure a smooth sailing of every operation undertaken by the society. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice day.
Yes, it was a very, very informative and a good